I wonder if you can tell us how and when you met Elvis first time.
How and when I met Elvis the first time? Well, first time I met him I don't remember because I was too little, so I really don't talk about it because I just don't remember. But I used to go down to Memphis on school breaks. My grandfather had a sister who lived in Memphis, and so we'd go to visit her. Well, they go to visit her. But she used to live across the hall from Elvis and his mom and dad when they lived in Lauderdale Courts. So Aunt George and Gladys Presley became really good friends. So I'd go down to visit Aunt George, and we'd go to see Gladys. And that was at the, well, Gladys got a job, and they had to move from Lauderdale Courts because they were making too much money. And then Aunt George's husband got a job, so they had to move because they made too much money. And they kind of went separate ways, but kind of kept in touch. And when Elvis bought Audubon, we came to town, but he wasn't home, so we didn't go over there because Gladys wasn't feeling real well. And then he bought Graceland, but then he went in the Army. So it really started after that. And I'd go down on school breaks and visit. I got to be really close with Uncle Travis.
So I suppose most fans, like myself, first became aware of you when we saw That's the Way It Is. And I know there's a really cool story about how you got to be in the film.
Okay. First of all, I'll correct you, which I'm not trying to be mean, but the actual name of that movie is Elvis, That's the Way It Is.
Yeah.
Everybody always says That's the Way It Is, but I still try to be Elvis, That's the Way It Is. And they usually just spell T-T-I-I or something, but I already put the E on there. When they were making that movie, I was living in California. I had a place in California and I had a place in Memphis. I had a roommate, Sue Wiggert, and we'd go back and forth. When Elvis was in the West Coast, we'd be out there. When he was in Memphis, we'd be there. So we were out there, and it was after he finished Live a Little, Love a Little. We went to Memphis for a while so he could chill and regain his everything. And then we got to California, and he was doing rehearsals. He was going to do a TV special called Singer Presents Elvis. The Colonel wanted it to be an hour of Christmas songs, and Elvis was fine with that. But the director, Steve Bender, had a different vision, and he talked to Elvis about it, and Elvis thought, that's a great idea. Well, the Colonel didn't like the idea. So Steve Bender told Elvis, he said, listen, I'm going to prove something to you. People don't know who you are as much as they used to, you know. Well, that's not true because the fans are always at the gates anyway, but trying to prove a point, he said, Elvis, come with me. And he and Elvis walked off, and the guys weren't paying attention. They went outside the Burbank studios at NBC onto Burbank Boulevard, and they walked down the street, a busy street. Nobody noticed them. One black guy, I think, looked and said, hey, are you the king? Aren't you Elvis? And they talked briefly and then walked. And Steve said, see what I mean? He said, do you remember back years ago when you couldn't even step out the door? He said, we can do that again. And Elvis kind of was surprised because, you know, he was surprised nobody thought. So they went back and they talked more, and he said, we could do a bunch of new songs and we could make this a really super thing. So Elvis agreed to it. And so he said, well, let's start shooting when the Colonel's not around. So they did that, and then the Colonel came, and then finally the Colonel said, well, Elvis, all in all, basically makes the final decision. And Elvis said, I don't just want to do Christmas, I really want to do a good thing, Colonel. So the Colonel said, fine, whatever you want to do. So they were going to have 4 segments, 2 on June 27th and 2 on June 29th, where they were going to tape with the live audience. So they had started announcing free tickets to the tapings of the Elvis TV special right to NBC. Well, of course, you know they ended up with more requests than they had tickets. But we're up at the house one night when Elvis came in from rehearsals, and he says, Cricket, Sue, come here. And he handed me, he said, this is for you. I said, well, he said, take it. And it was tickets, two tickets to each of the 4 tapings that he personally wanted to make sure that he personally gave to us. So then the first thing we did was ask him, well, Elvis, can we get 4 more tickets? Doesn't matter to what special, which taping. He said, well, the Lewises in Memphis, who were good friends of ours, and Mr. Lewis sometimes worked as a relief guard for Elvis, and he's the one that built the barbecue pit at the Circle G Ranch for Elvis. So he said, yeah, and he said, Joe, give me 4 tickets. And he said, so which one? He said, just give me 4 tickets, don't matter. So I think he took 1 from each of the tapings, so he'd have an even number. Yeah. So we sent them back to them, and they were thrilled. Right. We knew they couldn't come, but still we wanted them to have them. Yeah. So we did that.